From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
In the Circuit Court of the 18th Judicial Circuit in Seminole County, Florida, State of Florida versus George Zimmerman. Verdict: we, the jury, find George Zimmerman not guilty.
The verdict is in. George Zimmerman is acquitted for the shooting death of Trayvon Martin, an unarmed African-American teenager in Florida. The verdict sparked protests around the country.
We still today want justice.
We still today want justice.
And we will not be satisfied until justice is obtained.
And we will not be satisfied if justice is obtained.
We'll speak with some of those in the streets and to the Reverend Jesse Jackson, as well as Philip Agnew, head of the Dream Defenders, a coalition of young people of color in Florida formed after Trayvon Martin's death. In one of the most closely watched murder cases in years, a Florida jury has found George Zimmerman not guilty on charges of second-degree murder and manslaughter for fatally shooting unarmed black teenager Trayvon Martin. Zimmerman, a volunteer neighborhood watchman, shot Martin on the night of February 26, 2012 in a gated community in Sanford, Florida, as the teen walked back to his father's girlfriend's house after buying candy at a nearby store. A police report filed that night noted there was, quote, no indication Trayvon Martin was involved in any criminal activity at the time of the encounter. Zimmerman's trial took about 6 weeks. All 6 of the jurors who decided his fate were women. 5 were white, 1 Latina. They deliberated for more than 16 hours before they returned to the courtroom. This was the scene as Judge Deborah Nelson received their verdict.
Members of the jury, have you reached a verdict? If you'll please fold the verdict form and hand it to Deputy Jarvis. Okay, if you'll please publish the verdict.
In the Circuit Court of the 18th Judicial Circuit in Seminole County, Florida, State of Florida versus George Zimmerman. Verdict: we, the jury, find George Zimmerman not guilty. So say we all foreperson.
That was the scene in the courtroom when the verdict was read in George Zimmerman's murder trial Saturday night. Afterwards, Zimmerman hugged his family members. Trayvon Martin's parents were not present. Later on Twitter, his father, Tracy Martin, tweeted, "Even though I'm broken-hearted, my faith is unshattered. I will always love my baby Trey." The teen's mother tweeted, "Lord, during my darkest hour, I lean on you. You are all that I have. I will love you forever, Trayvon, in the name of Jesus." That was Sabrina Fulton's response. Civil rights groups are calling on the Justice Department to file civil rights charges against Zimmerman. A petition launched by the NAACP gathered more than 225,000 signatures in the first few hours after Zimmerman was acquitted, temporarily causing the group's website to crash. The Justice Department responded Sunday that it's continuing to evaluate evidence from an ongoing federal probe as well as evidence from the state trial, and that, quote, experienced federal prosecutors will determine whether the evidence reveals a prosecutable violation. President Obama also responded to the verdict on Sunday. He issued a statement that, quote, we are a nation of laws, and a jury has spoken. I now ask every American to respect the call for calm reflection from 2 parents who lost their young son. And as we do, we should ask ourselves if we're doing all we can to widen the circle of compassion and understanding in our own communities, he wrote. Meanwhile, former presidential advisor Van Jones tweeted an image of Dr. Martin Luther King wearing a hoodie, like the one worn by Trayvon Martin. Other responses were heard from the streets as protests were held across the country. In Los Angeles, protesters shut down the 10 freeway for 20 minutes. Here in New York, thousands gathered Sunday in Union Square, then marched for hours through Times Square and up into Harlem. These are some of their voices.
America,
we need to show America.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Leave our youth alone.
Leave our youth alone.
As a young black man, me walking the street, I could be seen as a criminal with a deadly weapon, because as they said, the concrete was a weapon to this young man. The concrete was considered a deadly weapon to this young man. So it harms me to feel like me walking the street is not safe. I'm not safe walking the street anymore.
It's very difficult because he sees it and he's already had dreams about it. And he's already had dreams about the man following Trayvon. He woke up and told me, Mom, I saw him following Trayvon. So, I mean, he has nightmares already. So that's just a part of what we have to go through every single day. And I don't think this country realizes what we go through as a black people and how we feel every day. And having our kids go out, we don't know if they're going to come home. And it saddens me. My heart is broken.
This is something that can happen to anyone's sons. Whether you're black, whether you're Latino, whether you're Asian, anyone can be taken. It's about someone else saying that their lives mean more than yours.
I had this feeling in my stomach, in my gut, and it felt like, I don't know, it felt like it was my son.